Hi again, this is Dr. Mahmoud and welcome to another video on another tool for problem solving tool. And today or in this video, we're going to talk about the scatter diagram. Scatter diagram, it's a really nice tool that will help you to problem solve issues, especially if you have two variables. So let's read about it and we'll take an example on how to create the scatter diagram. The scatter diagram is a graphical tool that is used to analyze the relationship between two different variables. Two sets of data are plotted on a graph. The independent variable is recorded on the x-axis and the dependent variable is placed on the y-axis. From this diagram, the user can determine if the connection or relationship exists between the two variables being compared. So we look into the diagram, we look into if there is a relationship between them or not. So these are the data will be plotted against each other, the dependent and the independent, and we look into the shape of these data. And based on that, we could see if there is a relationship or not. If a relationship exists, then steps can be taken to identify process changes that affect the relationship. So maybe we could change the process if needed. Now, what we're gonna look this. So this is a scatter diagram. As you see, this is a diagram with the two axes x and y, and you will see the data is placed in between these two axes. So if you see that the data, close to each other, which means you could fit a line in there, that means a strong positive correlation. Now, these data could be not close to each other, but still going from low to high. And left side, as you see the left side here, right here, these are the start with the low, and on the right side start with the high value. So that would indicate as a positive. Now, if it's a strong or not strong, how close to each other these points. However, if these data is going from high to low, high on the left side and low on the right side, that means there's a negative correlationship. And the same thing for for a strong or not strong, how close these data together. And imagine that you're going to place a line. I'm going to place a line in here between these two data, between the data, and that will help you to create that there is a relationship, a linear relationship. Here's another line we could create. That's it. But however, for the last chart here on the bottom right, you see that the data are all over. So there's no basically a pattern for this data where the one before it, there, you will see that there's a pattern. The data is going down, decrease from the high to the low, and that's where we say there's a negative correlation. Okay, now let's move on to the next step, which is basically creating the scatter diagram. Creating the scatter diagram is I'm going to create use this Excel sheet. So in this example, what you're going to see, this is a local ice cream shop where they keep tracks of how much ice cream sold they sell versus the noon temperature on that day. Now, what we need to do, we need to see if there's a relationship between the temperature and the ice cream. And this data is for the last 12 days. So all you need to do is select all this data and go to insert and select from the chart group, select this chart and select scatter diagram. And in this scatter diagram, you'll see as ice cream sales. As you see, it's increasing with the temperature. What we could do, we could add an element, which is, for example, the trend. We need to see a trend if it's a linear relation. We could see if we could switch the rows with the column. And okay, so that is switching the row. Doesn't it's not a good idea. So we'll keep the rows and the column the same. But what we need to do, we need to change the axis here, and we need to if we select this, double click on the x-axis, go to this option, go to axis option and change the minimum to 45 maybe, or maybe 50. We'll do 50 here and see how that's gonna result. So that's a graph that will show you that there is a strong relationship between the sales and the temperatures, and the higher temperature, the more sales of ice cream. And this will give you a better indication instead of looking into the data here on the table, but this will show you the relationship between these two variables, and based on that you could make a decision. And now we're moving into another problem solving tool. It's called the control chart and the run chart, and that would be the last video. Not this video, the next video will be the last one for this chapter. I'll see you in another video.